Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Adam Blansky, founder and CEO of Sierra Pacific Group and your ConnectWise boss. And welcome to PitchIT on Wednesday, PitchIT Live. And so I'm excited to be here, enjoying my Wednesday right after the 4th. It's a little rough getting started this morning, but hey, we're up and we're excited for the rest of this short week because we have the weekend coming up soon. And so I'm going to bring on my co-host, compadre, amigo, amor, Sean Lardo. There he is, dude. Like everyone.
You know what you're doing? Wow. You know what? Happy 4th. And I'm glad to see that you've gotten your juices flowing to where you have multiple names for me at this point. I really appreciate it.
I'm just gonna lay them all out.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, no, you did. Not even like you're just going to. You actually, it's already been brought in.
Sean Lardo, the ConnectWise Owler. Owler.
Yes, we'll go with that. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. Enjoying my 4th. It was lots of family, friends, and hanging out on the street, blowing up fireworks and lighting things on fire, just watching money burn.
That's exactly what I did. A couple $100. 5 minutes later, like, what happened?
Yeah, and then we're in safe and sane California. So, what do? We put the fireworks up on a ladder, make it higher, bigger. So it's actually pretty nice. So the competitions, first the ladder started out low, the platforms, and then suddenly the neighbors were competing and they started raising them as the night
bigger and bigger. That's
yeah, they kept getting bigger and bigger. So that was pretty fun. So we're here to talk about PitchIT. We have some contestants in our green room right now. So you want to talk about, what is PitchIT, Sean?
You know what, Adam? That's a great question. I'm surprised you asked this. It's new. So PitchIT, very simply put, is an actual competition. This is something. This is a Shark Tank competition that was put together by ConnectWise 5 years ago. The goal was to find the best innovators in the space for small startup companies, by the way, vendors that are able to be complementary to our ecosystem as well, and most importantly, be able to support the mission of the MSPs. Again, it is a competition, so I make sure people understand that. So all these vendors applied, they all were vetted out. We accepted them based off of they provide a viable need. The goal for them is to make it to the finals, which will happen at IT Nation Connect on November 8th, actually, to pitch live. We only look for 3 finalists. We have 26 vendors in now. We're looking for the 3 top finalists that will actually go through preliminaries, be judged, and then scored, and then move forward. They will pitch live on stage in front of, God, who knows people this year, if it's going to be bigger, which I expect it to be bigger. For the grand prize is $70,000. Second place is $30,000. Third place, steak knives.
It's pretty sweet. Pretty sweet.
Right.
So, I mean, the most competitors the PitchIT program has ever had this year. So it's exciting and a lot of new faces in this program. So
right, we allow for all the vendors. They can only compete and take part of the incubator program twice as an entity. So we have, of the 26, we have 5 that repeated from the year prior. So talking
21 new companies developing something for the ecosystem, and it's pretty impressive.
It is. I agree, and they go through a lot to be part of this program. So
yep.
So
with that, let's bring on Tim from Sales MaturIT.
How you doing?
How's it going, Tim?
Living the dream. How you doing?
So what is Sales MaturIT? What do you guys do?
Yeah, so we're geared specifically for the MSP industry. We're an on-demand sales coach, essentially. One of the things that we have found is the MSP industry as a whole, they're very mature, or there's been a significant maturing of the operational standpoint, the financial standpoint, but the sales and marketing, or specifically the sales gap, has really never been filled. So what we did is we have created an app format. It's an 84-question assessment, and it slots you in one of 5 different levels. It's either foundation, development, growth, excellence, or leadership. From there, you get a customized roadmap that has 170 supporting documents that will actually show you where you are in your sales maturity, what you should be working on next. And then there's also financial indicators from a 3 and 10 year mark that will, as you're growing your sales maturity, you should be working towards hitting your 3 and 10-year financial goals. Excuse me. And from there, we feel like any MSP that uses our platform, whether it's a single man shop or a single person shop, or an MSP with a full sales team, there is a place to grow within our app.
Really cool. That's pretty awesome. So sales
Yeah.
coaching with a back-end application
Yep.
to kind of structure and coach you along the path. Is that right? Just to summarize it?
Yes. Yeah. So 2 different ways that we work with an MSP. An MSP can come in and self-implement. They can take the SaaS application and run with it, implement it themselves. We've actually found a really nice following, a really nice traction with also having sales coaching attached to the app, where we're almost like an accountability coach, so that they are sustainably and systematically growing their sales maturity.
So is it safe to say you're actually a platform first and then a service second in the event of not self-serving?
Yes, that'd be fair to say. That'd be fair to say.
And so, okay, so question, how did you come up with this? How did you come up with this?
Well, my business partner and I, we've been associated with the industry for 14 years at this point, whether I was working at an MSP or since being in the channel for the last 10 years. And one thing that we have seen time and time again is the average MSP, they can close warm leads or referrals. They can do that at a 60, 70, 80% clip. But they have historically struggled at growing a sales team, whether it's hiring your first salesperson, hiring your first account manager. And we've seen a tremendous amount of gaps and mistakes that have been made within the MSP industry. We feel that with our experience and the documentation that we've made, we can really help anybody grow in a very systematic way.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And just one last thing is, when it comes down to you're stressing the maturity piece in this.
Yeah.
So defining maturity and as it applies to sales, because every MSP out there understands operational maturity, but not as a sales category.
Yes. So the maturity aspect really comes into play. I mean, I think as a lot of MSPs that may be listening right now, or MSPs that have friends, whether they're in a peer group or whatever that may be, a lot of MSPs, they try and hire their first salesperson. And a lot of times, they've got a full team of techs and engineers. They have a very systematic way in which they bring in those engineers and those techs. They probably have a 2 to 3 week training process with accountability and metrics that they have to hit while they're on that team. But often, from a sales aspect, an MSP will bring a salesperson in and they don't have those same markers, right? And even before that, a lot of times they haven't been on cold call appointments. So we really, Sales Maturity teaches an MSP owner or leadership team not only how to close cold call appointments, but set up, just from a pure foundational aspect, your sales maturity so that you can grow and sustain moving forward.
Got it. Okay.
It's really, really slick. Awesome.
Yeah.
Tim, appreciate that little intro. We do have another contestant here. We like doing 2 on our show. So I'm going to put you back in the green room. Bring Noreen. Noreen, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Doing fantastic. And you're from Telivy. So tell us what's Telivy all about, and tell us where you're from and all that other stuff. So
Sure. Yeah. So Telivy automates your cyber risk assessments. And we help you identify, analyze, and monitor cyber liabilities across 5 areas of security. One is network, data, application, IAM policies, and awareness and training.
Whoa. Okay. So Noreen, doing great. I get it. I was like, is that me? it's stuck on this,
I saw your
or
eyes in the green room looking back and forth. I was like, okay.
yeah, I wasn't sure. So up, you're back.
Oh,
What's
there
up?
he
You're
is.
back.
There we go. Okay, some technical difficulties on my end.
You were just flowing too.
Oh man. Okay. Well, let me let me start
Good.
again.
Start from scratch.
um, yeah, I mean, we basically help automate cybersecurity risk assessments across, as I said earlier, 5 different security areas: IAM, data, application, network, and security awareness and training. And we help identify all these vulnerabilities that you can now go ahead and communicate with your client on how to fix them with different type of tools, with different type of remediation patterns and such. MSPs can use us as part of their sales process and help kind of identify these vulnerabilities for their clients and prospects and really let them know why security is important. They can essentially sell with security in mind. So that's one of our main goals here. And secondly, we also automate a lot of your SecOps workload by up to 80%. So if you don't have the type of expertise you have in-house or you just don't have enough manpower, you can rely on us to make sure that we're constantly looking for what those latest vulnerabilities are, where your data liabilities, all of them stay in. And then we help monitor and notify you about that as well. So this lets you really focus on what's important, which is your clients and security analysis, as opposed to any of the SecOps work that go under it.
Awesome. I find so okay. So with that, you're helping identify, and you've used the word sell a few times. Are you helping them to sell and understand what's going on? Are you educating them on what they're finding, the MSPs that is, and how to work with their end users?
I think the way we see at least the sales process when I sell is more about education rather than the actual sales itself. So one of our main goals is to educate the MSP and the MSP clients on security best practices, what their vulnerabilities are, and such. A platform is just a proxy to be able to find vulnerabilities really easily and very holistically. But what do you do about those vulnerabilities? How do you fix them? When does it does happen? What is the actual cost involved in it? So that's where we can essentially kind of let the clients know. And that's how you essentially make security decisions as well, right? So
you deferred from saying it's sales but education, which I appreciate, but it's all sales in the end. It's just consultative, is the way
exactly.
Right?
It's kind of like how you do the sales is what
it's consultative. You're actually saying again. So I see what you guys do, especially because it seems like you're more on the right of boom when we talk about the conversation. So you're finding the problems. So it's a reactive, right? Am I wrong by this first? Because
right.
They're fine. So you're coming back around and saying like as if when you have something happen at your house, your pipe's leaking, you call a plumber. A plumber comes and says, these are the things you need to make this work, right? To fix this. And so that's a consultative approach. He's not selling me on a pipe. He's not selling me on anything. He's like literally saying, I see the water coming out. We have to fix it. It's going to take this.
Right. And that's exactly right. Like, how do you kind of go to the proactive approach of, kind of finding out all your gaps are and fixing it before something actually happens and letting them know about it. That's exactly where we want to play it.
Perfect. See, Adam, you're making that face. I got it, dude. I'm listening.
Yeah, when security assessments, you know me and acronyms.
Yeah. Oh God, here it comes.
So funny.
I'm gonna go ahead and bring Tim back in. There we go. Now we got the awesome. We're gonna be here, PitchIT live again with Sales MaturIT and Telivy. And so it's been fantastic.
You're saying the name wrong, dude.
Adam. It's Telivy, by the way.
Yeah,
Telivy.
Yep.
Yeah, Telivy. He's bilingual. It's not his fault.
Telivy. No, it's fine. We'll get it right throughout the period.
They'll figure out eventually. So I think this is a this is a great segue into the whole conversation. We were just talking about how sales requires. I think the biggest problem in cybersecurity is selling it. I think the education, the understanding, the selling of it is the biggest problem. And so now there's Tim with Sales MaturIT, and so do you guys offer, Tim, when you go through the process of helping them with their selling and maturity and everything else, cybersecurity, is it a topic?
Absolutely. I mean, more and more, right? It's that's a conversation that if you're not having it right now as an MSP, you're way behind the 8 ball. So that's anything to do with security, cybersecurity. I mean, those are topics and talk tracks conversations that we're having with our clients and the salespeople that we deal with on a literally a day in and day out basis.
Got it. Which makes sense. Okay. So, and to the point of, are we talking consultative, educational? Are we talking, because I think the other problem is you can't just talk about cybersecurity because end users and nobody thinks they're subject to being attacked. They don't think that. And MSPs notoriously are not very good about understanding the best way to say why they need cybersecurity.
So we're really large proponents in working with our clients around creating stories, right? You create stories during the sales process and sales conversations, and a lot of storylines that we help our clients with is specifically around security. And you create that hero story as the MSP that you did to help save one of your clients. You create a story out of that and you reference it. You're basically, during the sales process, you should be listening for different buzzwords that you can attack and really focus on. Not that you're putting down your competitor that you're trying to knock off. You just want to be able to show the value that you have above and beyond what they're already getting, right? So creating these hero stories, especially around security in today's current day, or just in current day, is something that we focus on all the time. And
so
just
I guess
to the client and prospect.
So it's safe to say that what Telivy will do is you guys the ability to actually be proactive in the information, to be the educated source. And you would give that to Tim, almost for Tim to tell the MSPs, use this product and then say these things. Because it's one thing to tell a story. It's another thing to have the information right in front of you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
That's exactly right. Because what we've seen previously MSPs do is they essentially only do a network assessment, right? And call that a full assessment test. Or they might run a pen test type of tool and you just say that as a risk assessment test. But what we have done with our tool is you just deploy one agent. It looks at multiple different things and then puts that all together and gives you all that findings. And then, Tim, you can definitely use that to see how that pertains to the user story that you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's taking the information at hand and using it to your advantage. And again, just the value that you bring above and beyond the competitor that you're trying to knock off or that you're trying to replace for that prospect that you're in front of. So
there's actually a good comment in the chat from Keith, which is surprising.
I was just going to show that right here. It's a big comment. It's like almost taking up the entire screen.
I know. Well, he's very long-winded. So I think this is great. He said he's not a salesperson, even though he does sell. He's very consultative selling. We've already talked about that because he's actually asking questions and fulfilling the needs, right, based off the actual problems. But I think it's important. Did you guys have a chance to read that?
Yeah, I got most of it. Yeah, I got most of it.
It's in the comments.
I got it back up there. I mean, your faces are all hidden. So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think the last part is that last line is the most important one. Often trying to sell to price per whatever. So it's the old argument. Do you charge per seat, per device, per endpoint, per God knows what, right? And that really, well, I know Keith personally, actually, and I know that he doesn't sell on that. He sells on the value of what the problem they're trying to solve is. Yeah. So it's not about anything else. So how do we go about that using both of your products?
Well, I can speak to Sales MaturIT. One thing that we've seen, look, I've been in the industry since 2009. So I've seen it evolve over time. And what used to be able to win people clients, talk tracks that used to be able to win people clients don't really apply all the time today. What we see being successful is going in, talking to a company, and really, what are your business goals? Where do you want to be in 3 to 5 years as a business? Our technology stack will help you get you there, and here's why. Which probably goes quite in line with what Keith just said there, right? It's about accomplishing, having them hit their business goals with your technology stack, and why you're not worrying about the price. The price is what it is. You're worrying about getting them to whatever their goal is. And if you can get them to buy in on that, then you've got a client for a long time.
Fair.
Yeah. And I can talk to a very specific portion of the business goals, right? Which is being a risk advisor. And I mean, in the next few years, the kind of the biggest liability that we're going to start seeing a lot of businesses have is cybersecurity. And what type of data are they collecting? What's actually going to be happening to that data? What type of vulnerabilities? What type of compliance laws are needed? Well, what is the cyber insurers asking? So instead of as an MSP, there's a huge opportunity here to not just essentially be the provider of IT tools and services, but also becoming a risk advisor, cybersecurity risk advisor itself, and really looking at the liability that they have, liability the MSP themselves have, and also how that relates to their insurance purposes, right? How that how that relates to their compliance and their customer contracts. So this is now, you're kind of going back to the whole proactive and consultative approaches. It's really looking at, how to limit your liability so you get dinged less for regulations. You look better with your customers and contract. So there's a lot of kind of like secondary and tertiary effects on this. And how do you get to that and then bring that back to your services? And kind of value. So that's what we're trying to go for.
I like one thing about this. When you said risk advisor, right? I like that saying risk advisor more than cybersecurity risk advisor. I think that's where the problem lies. Risk advisor to me is more about you're assessing my business continuity, my business as a whole, not just the cybersecurity is a byproduct of all this, right? So I think that like when I think about it, I want to know what this is going to do to disrupt my business first, regardless of whatever happened, if it was cybersecurity or if it was bad hiring or whatever, right? That's what most MSPs go into the business when they go talk to their end users. They're doing, if they do a QBR properly, it's not just about cyber, right? So I think if you stuck with just the term risk advisor, it sounds to me just like a financial advisor, right? It's a financial advisor. They don't just say, well, we only focus on this part. Yeah. They're focused on your total financial package, right? Your financial plan, not, well, except for this piece on leap year, we don't address. No, it's literally, so I think if people went more to the universal term of just risk advisor and risk assessment, that's it, not cybersecurity, not anything else, because every part of your business is under attack, whether by bad employees, bad hires, bad training, bad products, bad cybersecurity, take your pick.
Right, exactly. It's kind of like, and in the last few years, the kind of one of the biggest changes that we're seeing is how the cybersecurity liability affects all the other parts of your businesses, right? So like that translation to cybersecurity to like being a full risk advisor in terms of, it is going to affect your customer contracts because you don't have these things in place. So this is gonna, you're not going to be paid out by a claim for your cyber insurance if something happens because you have a CV of 8 or higher. So it's how does those details kind of apply to other parts of your businesses,
right?
And I think that's where a lot of education is needed as well.
Yep.
Yes. Well, I was going to say, like, getting to kind of know you guys, and just I'm trying to understand, what got you into your companies, or why you created these particular companies? What issue were you having at that time that kind of really got this momentum going? So, Tim, let's go with you. Like, how'd you get into this?
Well, so it's a bit of a backstory, right? Myself and my business partner, we actually started Osprey Strategic Research 10 years ago. We started off as a lead generation company, and then we transitioned away from lead generation and into what we call sales management as a service. What we have found over time since we started the company 10 years ago was, I think, something that I referenced before. There's just a tremendous amount of MSPs that operationally they're squared away, financially they're squared away. From a sales and marketing standpoint, there's often a huge gap, right? So on the flip side, we've also never really had a product or service for the MSP that was under $1.5 million, but there is a gigantic need there. So with all of the documents that we created over time, we put together the idea of Sales MaturIT about 18 months ago. And we organized it in a way where it is For anybody who knows Mike Michalowicz, it's very much a Mike Michalowicz fix this next kind of scenario. And it will help an MSP get past that first glass ceiling of $1.5 million. That often is a tough one to get through. And then also that second glass ceiling, which is usually in that $3 to $3.5 million range. And that coincides with having really a very systematic way of doing your sales efforts, right? Whether it's just as a principal led or bringing on your first salesperson or salespeople.
So simplistically saying, Tim, if I understand what you just said to me in a very short, definite sentence, is you started this business because you realized that MSPs are not mature when it comes to sales and marketing. They think they have it together, but they already have all the fundamentals taken care of on the other end.
Yep.
And now you're just stretching their limits and pushing them to an uncomfortable area by telling them they have to do these things.
Yes. Yep.
See?
That's why you get paid the big bucks. That's why you get paid the big bucks. Yes, that is true.
We're all about learning and teaching and educating. So it's, yeah.
No, I like it. I'm good. I'm glad you said that because I think people should know that. It's sales, as you know, sales. I mean, actually, you came to see me speak about sales maturity before I knew you had the business.
Yeah.
I
know. Yeah, that was crazy.
Right.
I still remember the look on your face. You're like, wait, what?
Well, yeah.
What are you talking about?
We're doing this, and I was like, oh yeah, because I only focused on one element in that conversation, which was how to set the right job description with the right responsibilities, and how to interview and onboard the person. That's all I could. I mean, because in 1 hour talking, that's all you have. I mean, and I barely even scratched that.
Yeah.
So it just shows you the long haul that you have to take if you want to be a sales organization.
Yes.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Similar question, Naren. So how'd you get started doing cybersecurity assessments?
Sure. So my background is basically in tech risk, right? So I started off as an engineer at IBM. My co-founder was an engineer at Google. Most recently, I was a early member of Hippo Insurance, and we went IPO and such. I was working on the risk management side of things. And so our initial Telivy, we basically started building software for cyber insurance, actually. And very quickly, cyber insurance carriers, I have to say, and very quickly, we found a huge kind of problem there, right? Which is carriers don't quite know what they're actually asking or really how to evaluate what cyber risk is. They keep, like a few years ago, that was like an application form that was, about like 5 questions. Now it's about 3 pages long. They do external security scans, and they think that has a huge application towards the underwriting process itself, but they don't look at the internal part of things. And then premiums have also been increasing about 20 to 30% on a quarterly basis. So we started thinking that, okay, the main problem here is that there really is no good cyber assessment tool. And in theory, all this information can be grabbed digitally. We looked at what MSPs were doing, and they have access to it. They have access to all the user systems, but they were essentially running one-off tools. For example, they were using one tool just to do network. They were using another tool. Oh, I think we might have lost Adam there.
No, he's gone, but we're all good, so keep going. He doesn't have any good questions anyway, so don't worry.
You keep saying Telivy wrong. And they're using another tool for PII scanning to find out how much liability that you have. They were using another tool for phishing simulation, right, to essentially find out what type of how educated the clients are. But no one's doing it under one platform where you can use all that data and then find other insights on top of that. Such as where your data is, how protected it is, how isolated it is, what type of vulnerabilities are on the network and devices that the data is on. So all this can be mapped together, and what we are calling it as a security mesh layer that can be really helpful for MSPs, for cyber insurance carriers, for brokers, for enterprise risk management. So there's a lot of applications there where this can go, and we think that MSPs can really use this to. We really think that MSPs can use this to have a full holistic finding as opposed to just using one-off tools.
So essentially, you're putting together, in a very short sentence again, the ability you're bringing everything together. It sounds like because you mentioned several different elements of this, into a one-stop shop for everybody to be efficient, effective, and to be able to do their search, to do their deeper dive, and then do the assessment, and then display it easy for them too? You're trying to solve for?
Yeah, like find more insights and also summarize them in ways that even non-technical stakeholders can easily understand.
Right. Okay. Well, that's perfect. I think that's the big piece there too, is the non-technical stakeholders that don't know what the hell's going on. Right. And there's that loss in translation, which is the same reason why Tim has a business, because of the loss in translation.
Yes. Which is why one of the things we have realized is if we start talking to clients about CVEs, vulnerabilities, what type of, it's really hard to kind of translate it to them, right? And make them understand what exactly cybersecurity is. But if you start talking to them about like, okay, this is how much PII information you have, that means this relates to $1 million of kind of sensitive data loss if something were to happen. Right. So putting everything in financial terms, putting everything into stories, like Tim mentioned earlier, if something were to happen, then what exactly would you face in terms of regulation fines, in terms of claims loss or claims rejection? So kind of having that translation layer really helps clients understand what type of decisions that they need to make.
Yeah, makes sense. We did have a question come in. Sorry, I brought it up a little too earlier. So does Telivy have an API? Did I say it right that time? Right?
Yeah, Telivy. We do have an API that's internally exposed. We can expose that publicly as well on a one-off basis. So please come talk to us, and we'd love to have that conversation.
That's awesome. That's a great question. Real quick, that's a great segue into something real quick. The integration piece to ConnectWise, right? We're always looking for that single pane of glass. That's what the MSPs are asking for. That's what we're looking for too. We know we're not going to build all this ConnectWise itself. It's better if you guys are building and we're connecting, right? Because that's the world as it is today, right? So with that, and we'll start with you, Naren, as far as the integration API stuff. How do you coincide with ConnectWise? Because most guys are working through their PSAs and whatnot. Where do you guys sit in this?
Yeah, so we're actually exploring integration with ConnectWise currently, and we also integrated into multiple other tools. So Nodeware, which is another contestant on the program, ActiveFile and Augment and such as well. So we have all the data coming through there. We essentially are the data repository, which finds the insights, and you can kick it off to multiple different entities, including ConnectWise, your PSA tools, and anything that's needed on an operational level, even on the CRM and such and stuff. So that's essentially.
So it would sit here. You'll be sitting here essentially doing all your work, whatever the findings are from whatever is going to ultimately be pushed into the PSA or into your manage. Ultimately,
yeah. So for example, if there's a new vulnerability that's found that has to be remediated, that would be created under a new ticket for that specific client in your PSA. So.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So I could, if I'm an MSP, I could work right out of manage ultimately at the end, not you guys.
Yeah, so that's possible. It depends on what type of cyber risk insights you want, and if you want to report, we can actually push the PDF directly to ConnectWise itself too. So that's also possible.
I think the point for me is we want, and if I'm as a business owner, which I've been, and well, you guys all are too, so you know this is the ability to automate some of the things that I don't have to do the mundane tasks. So if you're working with a specific customer and these are vulnerabilities, but I'm actually pushed under their if they submit a ticket as well, or a ticket was created, it's all pushed into one, so I don't have to go back and redocument.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and that's essentially where we are trying to get towards, is that you have a single pane of glass to look at all of this. Essentially.
Awesome. Okay, Tim, same thing to you, man.
Yeah. So
because everybody loves Quozle, and everybody loves Sell with ConnectWise.
Yep.
CPQ.
CPQ is where we're headed right now. Exactly. It's there. CPQ is there. So yes, go ahead.
So what we're looking for, or what we're looking to do in phase 2 is, one, we're going to be integrating with ConnectWise. It's going to be on the sales side, right? It's going to be around the CRM aspect, whether it's contacts, opportunities, really that mid to late pipeline. We're going to be able to integrate into Sales MaturIT, so that it can be that one pane of glass to grow your sales side.
Will this sit within ConnectWise? I know you're going through the integration piece right now. So how is this going to match up? How is this going to jive with people that use Bright Gauge and Quozal and anything else they use to look at their sales piece?
Yep. So you're asking questions that are more on the technical side. What I will tell you is, I mean, that ain't me, man. That ain't me.
Well, let's talk about
It's gonna look gonna look really cool.
well, let's say, okay, so then let's compare and contrast a minute here. People that use the PSA right now, they also use it as a CRM light, essentially, right? So they have all the data, they have all the information. So with that, where are they going to, where does what you guys provide match up to that piece alone? And then also there's the quoting process from Quozal as well, right? So where do you guys align here?
So we haven't really gone down the Quozal road. What I will say is there'll be a push-pull in regards to the CRM functionality. So you will be able to use it in either or, and it'll be able to go back and forth. Same with opportunities, same with anything really in the pipeline, right? So like that's going to be
that's the piece right there.
Lies.
I think that's the piece right there, the pipeline conversation.
Yeah.
You know, because again, in my mind, systematically, linear speaking, I'm thinking in a sales process, I think of all the steps, right? And
exactly.
What topics are needed per step, right? So to even do, so you're actually going to be complementary to Quozal, and sell, because so almost like a, for lack of a better term, even an element of it is like Sales Loft.
Yeah, I would say that's fair.
If people don't know what Sales Loft is, it's an actionable, live actionable playbook that you can plug right into Salesforce that gives you content and processes and everything else. And literally, as you go through the steps, it's updating the activity as well for the whole pipeline.
Yeah.
So, okay, I think it's important to know. Yeah, right. You're welcome, Adam. There's a whole class on sales.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. It definitely, sales is huge, right? And I'm just curious, how do you see like sales? How do you see let's just say, how do you see your company evolving over the next couple of years? You kind of got started, and you know where you're at. So I'm just curious, Tim, let's start off with you.
Yeah.
Where do you see your company kind of evolving to? What are you looking to do?
Yeah, I mean, look, ultimately where I think we envision ourselves in the next 3 to 5 years is we want to be the name that people think of when it comes to sales process and sales development within the MSP industry, right? We feel like we've got the knowledge, the documentation, the process behind us to help any MSP, no matter what size they are, whether they've got a full team of salespeople, or whether they're looking to hire their first salesperson and anything in between. And even before that, we want to be able to give MSPs the ability to grow that third dimension of their company, which is the sales side, which they've historically struggled at. And I could see that as we progress and as we become more mature as a company and as we get more clients, just with all the mergers and acquisitions going on within the MSP community, I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say that was going to be a part of our strategy sometime in the future, but we're not there yet. We've got some things we need to do first, and we feel like we're on a good track.
Nice. Okay, cool. That gets me excited and just trying to understand where you're going. And Naren, how about you? Where do you see your company kind of going?
Yeah. Just think about it this way, right? What if kind of in maybe within the next 1 to 2 years from now, all you have to do is install our tool. You have all the security data about your clients as an MSP onto one dashboard. And then let's say their carriers or their broker is actually asking them for a cyber insurance application. All you have to do is send the data that you have on the dashboard to the carrier, and just give them permission. If one of their customers is asking information, instead of filling out security questionnaires and such, all you have to do is just give the customer permission about seeing the data that you have. And then you can essentially manage all that conversations into one dashboard, make sure that all the monitoring and such is really visible to the right parties that's needed. So that's essentially how we see ourselves in the next few years. It's kind of almost a marketplace of security data that you and your client can essentially control and make sure it's moved to the right entity that's actually needed which also means that it shows how important that you are as the controller of security data for your client and where exactly it's going to move to.
So it would probably be a good idea for you and Tim to talk at some point and collaborate, for one, right?
Yeah.
So
Two, I would also think you should look to collaborate with any kind of QBR system as well.
right.
I mean, I think that goes for both of you guys, to be honest.
Yeah.
It should be a collective piece. If I think just thinking about what I would need if I was going into the door to facilitate business. I'm gonna say facilitate business, not do a sale, but just facilitate business. If I'm going in with a QBR, what do I need to know? I need to know the vulnerabilities, the issues, the challenges, the whatever, the pain points, right?
Yep.
What else do I need to know? What I should be saying about these pain points and how to communicate them as a business continuity conversation, and also what steps I should take in the process of doing so. Because again, sales isn't about you can just shoot the shit. It's being able to have a solid process that's repeatable and scalable with the right content at the right time. Knowing what to say, when to say it, and how to say it is so important.
Right.
And tracking it.
Yeah.
For pipeline. So I think so I look at both of you guys and 2 to 5 years, that should be your strategic partnerships and alignment with all these technologies, because there isn't a one size fits all for anybody, and never will be.
Yeah.
I think that would be key. I think if I'm MSP, that's what I want to see.
agree.
I mean, really, if I'm an MSP, what I want to see, I want to see a package deal where I buy this QBR that also has sales, MaturIT, and I have Telivy in there all in one for a discounted price because I bought it in bulk.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I get that.
I mean, right? And then at that point, Tim, you're selling your sales coaching instead after that.
Yeah.
I've already bought what I needed just to help me to advance. And then you're selling me whatever as far as the continuity is concerned and education of cybersecurity at that point. I mean, everybody wants to be Amazon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm shutting up, Adam. I'm sorry. I got excited.
No, it's all good. I was just kind of going down the path of like, okay, so you have this future kind of where you want to go. So what is the next big milestone and how are you working towards it right now? So Noreen, I'm gonna start off this question with you. So what's the next big milestone for your business?
For V2 on the product level, we're actually looking at, we're already collecting all the data that we have. How do we map this to different compliance standards and build a compliance module on top of that? So that's where we're planning on taking it. We got a lot of feedback from our first cohort of users, which is actually the 7-figure community. We work with those guys to kind of build this platform, and then now we're getting a lot of requests around compliance. So that's where we're going into. And as we do that too, on the sales and marketing side, we're investing heavily into increasing marketing efforts there and building our cohort 2 of users. So we are looking for new users to kind of look into this, but also keep it controlled so that we can get the feedback that you're giving us to make sure that we're building the right type of tools that is very helpful for everyone.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. Okay, that's really cool. Tim, how about you?
Yeah. So with us, I mean, look, we've got a few plans that we're looking, or a few strategies that we're looking to go down. I'd say specifically, we would like to set up benchmarking, right? So we can tell any MSP that comes in, they take their assessment, we take a snapshot of their financials. We want to be able to benchmark where MSPs are depending on grouping of financials and just their overall sales maturity. I mean, the other side of it is we're actively looking to simplify the platform from the standpoint that we're going to create more how-to videos within it. We're going to be doing a few things coming up in the not too distant future. One, we're going to make all of the documents, you can edit all of them, but also attach these videos so that people can use it much easier. And really, as we do that, our whole plan is to also get involved with, really increase our centers of influence, which, we've been in the industry long enough. We're starting to build out that ecosystem that's been talked about in PitchIT over the last few weeks. Get involved in more marketplaces, and we've also seen some really nice traction, and specifically within peer groups within the industry, right? So like that's how we're looking to evolve and kind of grow within who we are.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, so how has the PitchIT competition been? I'm just trying to think of like, this is a learning program. This is your first time, kind of going through a competition, from my understanding. And I'm just curious, what are you getting out of it? How's it going so far? How's it progressing?
And I think
Tim?
you mentioned ecosystem too, by the way, as that was one of the pieces. So yeah, that's a good segue.
Yeah.
No, you didn't mean to, Adam. It was a good segue into it.
From our experience, it's been fantastic. I mean, the speakers that have been on it, everybody's been really spot on. Anywhere from Peter Kajawa to, McBain. We've had some really top end speakers talking about some really nice things that can help anybody in PitchIT progress as we get to that finish line in probably 8 weeks from now, somewhere in that neighborhood. So our experience has been great. We've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I completely agree with Tim there. It's been extremely helpful. One on kind of like building awareness side, being able to plug into other communities and forums such as this itself, and then also trying to get a lot of good speeches from industry experts, and also kind of being able to make sure that we go after the right type of MSPs that can actually really build a lot of value from our product. So we get a lot of segmentation tips and kind of industry insights from there as well. So it's been really helpful for us, especially in terms of especially in terms of our go-to-market efforts.
Yeah. So you went into the program with certain expectations, right? I'm just curious, did you have to shift kind of what your strategy is around the company, or are you getting even more than what you initially thought? I'm just curious, Lorraine, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think for us, it came at a really good point. We had our first cohort of users from 7-figure, and we were finding good amount of retention and good feedback in there. So we're looking at our cohort 2 and how to really start developing our go-to-market efforts. And that's the same month that we started the PitchIT program itself. So it worked out really well. And for us, a lot of us do we've been working with a good amount of MSPs itself, but how do you look at it from their operational standpoint of view, and how do they view a lot of different tools and software itself? So that's been really helpful to kind of start deciphering what's really needed for the community. So that's been helpful. And for us, like we always thought, kind of as engineers and product people, we always thought that, let's build a platform, let's build a product, and then users will come and use it. And then kind of going through that whole program, it really made us think about support's necessary, kind of education's necessary. How do you actually go out and get users to really kind of evangelize it and kind of build a good community around it? So all that it gave us some really good kind of thinking points around it.
Very nice. Tim, how about you?
Honestly, I would say we're in an oddly similar situation. We've got our first group of I think we've got 35 clients on this right now. Right, we've had some really nice feedback. We've had feedback on things that we're going to change, and PitchIT came along at a point where we were truly looking to define what we do and how we do it. And I would say it's helped us tremendously in just creating that mindset. And it helps that we use EOS as well, I would say. So it helps us organize, because Rob and I are both high D, high I's, and we squirrel off at a moment's notice. So it's really helped us stay on track and just have that end goal in sight.
Very nice. Sean,
and meeting other contestants, like Tim's companies and others as well.
It's been great. Yeah.
See that? I'm like the matchmaker. Bring everybody together. Kumbaya.
We'll add that to your title. Let's bring on matchmaker Sean Lardo.
I feel like it should be like some 1980s, 1990 show music should come on. I should come on, right? Just say no. All right. So, and actually with that, because of all the sessions we've had so far, all the workshops, we went you guys were able to identify how MSPs think they're looking at with the modes. Then you were able to find out about the landscape of the industry when we talked to Jane Fain about the 12 spheres of influence and where the space is going and everything else, right? And then you even learned from Heather Margolis about marketing, right? So we've kind of covered the gamut of a lot of stuff all in one, and even a little bit about mergers and acquisitions. So has there been anything that's been so far to date that was something you guys totally were weak on and didn't think about, and then we're like, holy hell, this workshop made me realize X, and Noreen, we can start with you if you're cool with answering it.
Sure. Yeah. One of the things that we found really helpful was the OML standards, right? Or like the operating type of benchmarks that we can offer different MSPs, or it's officially called the operating maturity levels. But how do you essentially categorize different MSPs on how mature they are, and how do you essentially reach out to them based on that level of maturity? So that was really helpful for us to think through our go-to-market, and how do you kind of qualify different leads coming in, right? And how do you even build different content for different levels of operating maturity itself? So all that was what was kind of really helpful for us. And yeah, so that's one of the things we found heavy benefit.
I think that makes sense, especially in your space, because cybersecurity is so Wild West still.
Yeah.
Right.
So the maturity piece, and everybody adds another S onto their MSP, what it really means and how to define it and what to do with it, whether they can really support it or not, I think is, I can totally see that. That makes a lot, and you wouldn't even think about that because what you're doing is something, it just needs to be done.
Yep. Which is that also made us almost think about like, okay, like for some organizations, our platform, we're not really ready for them yet. And then can we just build a community or almost an education piece to it around security that they can kind of grab onto it, educate themselves on different aspects of it, and then move on to our product to actually use it. So we would start kind of thinking about like, what is a real user product roadmap based on the maturity level. So I mean, Sean, you're absolutely right. It really matters in cybersecurity and compliance.
Absolutely. Tim, what about you, man?
I would say for us, it was the ecosystem conversation. So we had two. I would say the OML was definitely number two for us. The ecosystem was probably number one, and just creating those 7 spheres of influence, right? And joining marketplaces, and just getting yourself out there. That's something that we've already started to implement into what we do as our sales strategy moving forward. And the OML conversation was great from the standpoint that you can really sell to the OML that you're sitting across the table from, and that was you can use it in every aspect, whether they're a current client or you're in the prospecting phase or the sales cycle. And we found that to be, I mean, it's not that we didn't know that, but just to have that conversation and hear it. And hear it presented in a pretty systematic way. That was a really solid one.
Fair enough. That makes sense. I'm glad to hear that, because I think that those are very good points as far as the OML is concerned, but also the ecosystem piece, because that's where this all is going. Back to being Amazon. Amazon is the ecosystems.
Totally. Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of smart. I don't know if they knew that. They're pretty fucking smart. Anyway,
did a couple things right.
Yeah.
It's kind of wrapping the show up because it is about to be this top of the hour here. So what's one thing you want our audience to know about you guys? So Tim, we'll start off with you.
What I would say about the one thing that I would like people to know about us is, we've been in the channel for a long time, and we know the pain points that MSPs historically have from a sales and marketing standpoint. We've worked with over 250 MSPs at this point over the last 10 years. And we have what we feel is basically an on-demand sales engine. And we are able to help, I know I've said it a couple of times, but we're able to help any MSP, whether it's a single person up to somebody with a full sales team. And not for nothing, we're pretty cool people.
I concur to that. I can concur to that.
One second question to that, and then we'll move on to Noreen. What would you do with prize money if you won the prize money?
I mean, after the initial steak dinner, probably honestly, it would be a split between more money allocated to development, and also using a portion of that towards in a fairly strategic way, whether it's LinkedIn ads, some light SEO, Google AdWords, but also pinpointed conferences.
Yeah.
Nice. Very cool. Okay.
So
Yeah.
These are great.
reinvest in the space.
Yes. Yep.
All right, Norin, what's one thing you'd like our audience to know about your organization?
Technology has become a huge liability for small businesses, for all your clients. So become a risk advisor to them, not just an IT service provider. So make that transformation. Please let us come onto our platform. We do offer a free trial period and free risk assessments on our site as well, and we'd love to educate you on how to make that happen.
Very cool. And what would you do with the prize money?
We will invest it in sales and marketing mostly, and a huge part of it is actually for cybersecurity education. So that's something that would be number one on the list, and number two would be bringing our product to the second level, which is also into compliance and such. So over investing into the product community, and just making sure everyone get the right solutions they need.
Awesome.
I'd buy a hot tub. Hot tub. I need a hot tub. New hot tub. Honestly, that's right. Find a new hot tub with that money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So far, we only have one person committing to a big party. So,
Exactly.
Got to have one night of fun if you're going to win, right?
Yes, exactly. You deserve it.
Yeah.
So, okay, I know. All right, Adam, we have 3 minutes, and you're going to start getting hives because we run out of time.
I have a call scheduled, so So Sean, any closing thoughts here, buddy?
It's real simple. Any vendors that are watching this, you should take note of the fact of what's being shared amongst the groups, amongst these vendors. They all don't know each other. I mean, a lot of them knew. Some of them knew each other before this, but not many. Mm-hmm. And now that the ability for connections, but connections, education, more brand awareness, all that stuff is all playing parts in the success of the program, which is in return the success of you guys. The other side, MSP should be paying attention to this because first off, you're all pretty bad at selling. Second off, you're all really bad at selling cybersecurity. It's actually known as being one of the hardest topics to talk about now for MSPs is cybersecurity and how to equate it to any business continuity conversation. So I suggest if you're MSP, you probably should take a look at these guys. And follow us on all these posts we do, all these videos every single week. I see Adam every freaking week.
Every week.
That's all. I'm done.
Appreciate it. Yes, we are live next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be live with B Castle and Scalable MSP. So it's going to be an exciting show. I thank you for your time, Tim and Noreen. It's been a really great show. Awesome learning about your organizations. 2 new vendors in our space. Well, it sounds like you've been around for a while, new to the PitchIT program, right? And so excited to have you here, and really, hopefully you learn something from here, and our audience learns something from here, and enjoy the rest of your week. A short week this week, so peace out.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Adam.
Yeah,
Deuces. Wow.
Bye.